Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of the Armchair podcast. Another solo podcast this week because unfortunately my brother doesn't want to partake in the podcast anymore. he does, but at the minute basically what's happened is one of our microphones has broke. And I'm talking about the professional microphones. And that's why at the moment my voice sounds so nice like a radio presenter because of the quality of the microphones we are using. And basically, I don't want to sacrifice the quality, even though we're not a big podcast and no one fucking listens to this podcast. For the few people that do listen, number one, thank you. And number two, I want your ears to sort of have an orgasm when you listen to this podcast. Like, I want you... I mean, really, it'd be great if you did have an orgasm. That is weird. I'm so sorry. Please don't turn off. But do you know what I mean? Like, I want you to have a good listening experience. So we did try it with other mics that are a bit cheaper, but Josh at the minute, congratulations, by the way, to Josh, who has just left his job at Morrison's. So he has escaped. No offense to anyone that works at Morrison's. It's a really good place. I also worked at Morrison's for about 7 or 8 years. Nice place, not nice place, nice people, but slightly soul crushing. So yeah, Josh is now going to get a big boy job and hopefully some big boy money, so he can finally pay up and start paying his way really and pulling his weight on this podcast because at the minute it's shocking. It's shocking. I'm basically carrying this podcast on my shoulders. But yeah, so you'll have to put up with me again for this week, but Josh will be back eventually. In a week, next week maybe, in a month, who the hell knows, but hopefully soon so you don't have to put with me much longer. But anyway, we'll crack into it. So another week of Premier League action. Thank you so much for listening on this Monday evening. Hope you've had a good day at work or Tuesday morning, whenever you listen to this podcast and whenever it comes out. Thank you for the support. Before we start, if you wouldn't mind, just please, sharing this podcast with your mates, hitting like, subscribe. If you're watching by yourself, just show me some support. If you've got any questions you want me to answer on the next podcast, please leave a question below in the YouTube comments. I think we do have one from last week that I will have to pull up. So let's start off with what the hell is going on with Liverpool? Is this a crisis? I'm seeing loads of people going, crisis! Loads of videos, crisis videos about Liverpool pundits. That's a word they like to use, isn't it, in the media, a crisis. It seems, though, like when any big team in the top six loses a couple of games on the bounce, they're having a so-called crisis, which for a top six team means that they might not win the Premier League or finish in the Champions League, which is, that's it. That is a crisis. But no, with Liverpool, it is slightly concerning because I think, obviously, there is this high expectation, rightly or wrongly, that's been put on Liverpool to challenge for the league title this year, based on the fact that Arne Slot won the Premier League in his first season last year, and they've got some world-class players. But let's get into this. Let's talk about these world-class players. Let's talk about this world-class manager and the season they had. So, the first question I'd like to pose to people is, last season, do we think the reason Liverpool won the league was because it was a Klopp hangover? Were they hungover from the Klopp era? Because I know Slot did change a few things, and a lot of people were saying that, the game was slightly more controlled. But let's be honest, apart from Chiesa, the squad was exactly the same. It was still a really good Premier League team. And if I'm being completely honest, and I'm trying to be unbiased here, but Liverpool were the best of a bad bunch. Man City weren't the same last season. Arsenal, due to injuries and all that stuff, they just weren't performing well last season. So, Liverpool got lucky, essentially. That's what I'm trying to say. Look, they're still a great team, Liverpool fans. Don't bite my head off, but you will say you were the best of a bad bunch in terms of you were great, but you weren't exceptional. And then it brings us on to this season because, you're just looking at it and thinking, well, was last season just a hangover from Klopp? And now that, Slot has had time with the team and he's bringing his own signings, there's been a lot of change. So are we now seeing a true reflection of how good Slot is a manager and how good Liverpool are as a team? Maybe that's slightly harsh. I'm not sure. Please do let me know in the comments if you think, that Slot was basically riding on the back of a Klopp wave And this is his, was he actually that good? Did Liverpool get lucky? But I think there's an element of that, whether that's the full truth, but there's definitely an element of that. But look, let's be honest, they've lost 3 games on the bounce, but as Jamie Carragher and other people were saying, they've been playing bad all season. They've got a bit lucky in terms of last minute goals, and the luck has finally run out. So what is the issue with Liverpool? Well, they spent a lot of money in summer. And like anything, like when you get any shiny new toy or you start spending money, people get excited. And oh my God. I mean, even I was shitting myself and I was excited. I'm not even a Liverpool fan. I hate Liverpool. I don't want them to win the league. I don't hate them, but I don't want them to win the league. But oh my God, when you look at the signings like Isak, Wirtz, Ekitike, your mouth was watering at those signings. But now there's a problem of have you signed too many stars? Have you signed too many players that are going to rustle feathers? And how do you fit all these star players into a system? And I think that's what you're seeing here with Liverpool. I actually don't think the business they've made, I think it's good business, but I don't think it's the right business. I think when you look at Wirtz, I think he's sort of I feel like he's been advertised as the signing that comes in and they build the team around him. He's like the next big thing. He's like their next big player, like replacing Salah. But he is a midfielder. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm sure that he wasn't known for scoring bags of goals and getting bags of assists in the Bundesliga. He's more of a technical player, creative playmaker. So I think, number one, Liverpool fans and fans in general are probably expecting too much of Wirtz. Is he the type of player that's going to get you loads of goals and assists? Or is he the type of player a bit like an Ozil or a Modric, etc.? I know Modric played further back, but is he that type of player that's more creative and less output? Maybe. I'm not too sure. But either way, you spent 125 million on the bloke, and now you have to... And he's playing shit. Not shit, but he's... that's a bit extreme, but he's not doing very well. And is that down to the manager? Is it him adapting to the Premier League? Probably a bit of both. Then you've got this whole thing with Ekitike and Isak. Have no idea why they decided to buy Ekitike and then buy Isak. Makes no sense. I understand having striker options, but they've literally gone from having no strikers to having 2 of the best in the world fighting for the same spot. Because you can't really shove one on the wing. I mean, I guess Isak or Ekitike could play left wing, but that changes the whole system. They've lost Luis Diaz. They've lost Diego Jota, rest in peace. And it's a massive change from their team. And Nunez. Say what you want about Nunez, but he set the tone for the press. He was constantly, he was relentless, really. He was a bit clumsy, but he was relentless. And he was a massive part in that team last year. And Salah was the main man, and I just don't think now that there's too many main men at Liverpool now. You saw in the game against Chelsea that Salah was still trying to, on that right-hand side, cut in on the left, and he blazed about 3 shots over the bar, and Isak was fuming because he's coming to be the main guy, he's coming to get the goals, but Salah's the guy getting you the goals. I mean, bloody hell, he scored a ridiculous amount of goals last season, and now... it's not just going to work. I think people looked at that and thought, oh my God, so Salah's going to score 20 goals, then Isak's going to come in and score 20 goals, Wirtz is going to come in and score 10 goals, we're going to run away with the league. That's not how it works, unfortunately. So I think Liverpool, in a way, have shot themselves in the foot here by buying too many attacking-minded players. I mean, you look at the defence, and that's the biggest worry for me. I think they've shown they can score goals this season. I wouldn't worry about Liverpool scoring goals. They've got so much options. But then you defensively, and they bought Frimpong and Kirkez. Frimpong's hardly getting a game. They're even putting Szoboszlai at right back and Connor Bradley. Why buy Frimpong then? What is that Frimpong signing for? Because is it just squad depth? He's not played in the midfield yet, so he's not that versatile. He's just a right back who's used to playing in a 3 at the back system at his previous club. But Liverpool don't play a 3 at the back. So I'm very confused at that signing. Again, he's got lots of speed and he looks excited on the ball and he can attack down that flank. But is he a good fit for Liverpool? I'm not sure. Kirkez is very rash, is young, obviously got lots of potential. But again, you don't look at Kirkez and Frimpong and go, oh, that's a steady, solid defence that a lot of teams are going to struggle to get past. I look at that team and think... that defence and think we're going to be able to get at this defence. At the minute, I just think like Liverpool at the minute look a bit like Ange. It looks a bit like Ange ball. They're playing suicide ball. There's not much structure. There's not much defensive solidity. And yeah, you know, they're playing a dangerous game here. And yeah, I don't know. The confidence is probably a bit low. I'm not sure. They're too sure what's really going on. So there's a lot to figure out, really. And also as well, they're missing Trent massively as well. I forgot to mention Trent. Again, one of the most creative defensively, not too great, but offensively amazing. I think maybe that's what Slot was thinking, or the board, in terms of, well, Frimpong similar to Trent in that he's not as good, obviously, but he offers a lot in attack more than he does defensively. But he's nothing on Trent. He was basically a midfielder at right back, pretty much, and I think that's why he's gone with Szoboszlai there. But why change a midfield that did so well for you last season and put in Szoboszlai at right back? I have no idea. For me, Szoboszlai at the minute looks better, you know, in that cam position than Wirtz. So I'd probably maybe rest Wirtz a bit more. Don't try and play him into form. Maybe just he could go on the bench for a while. I'm not sure. It's a big headache really for Arne Slot. And you know, are we saying now that Liverpool are out of the title race? Because how long is it going to take Arne Slot to figure this out? Most Liverpool fans are obviously hoping that with the international break, Arne Slot will be able to sit down, look at the results so far, look at what's going wrong. After the international break, he'll tweak it, and then Liverpool, they'll win 3 on the bounce, and then people will forget this even happened. That's probably the likely scenario. That's probably what will happen. But their next game is Manchester United. And if Arne Slot comes back after the international break, and he hasn't fixed this apparent issue of defensive fragility, and the attack being a bit disjointed, if I'm being honest, then could be trouble. Because if Man United get anything out of this game with how bad they've been, I know they've beat Sunderland today 2-0, which is a great result for them actually, because it's a bit of a 6-pointer, that one, in terms of the relegation battle. But I honestly I would then worry for Liverpool if they drop points against Man United. I know it's very early to say, but I honestly think that I'm not sure they're going to win their title, because that's 3 Premier League games in a row where you've dropped points, and at this level with Arsenal, mate, you can't do it. I'll come on to Chelsea, but now we're on the topic of Arsenal. And the title race. Arsenal are now top of the Premier League table, which is very happy viewing for me. But we've seen time and time again in previous seasons. I think we've, at one point in the last 3 seasons, been top of the table for quite a while, and obviously let that slip. So I don't actually care that we're top of the table. We could be 3 points behind Liverpool. We could be 5 points behind City. All that matters is that in May, we lift that Premier League trophy and we are top of the table. So at the minute, I don't really care, but I have to say, I've been quite impressed with the Arsenal team. The lineup surprised everyone, I think, for the West Ham game. So we had, a very attacking lineup with Ødegaard, Rice and Eze in the same midfield, which a lot of fans were crying out for. And I think as well, look, credit to Arteta, he's obviously a sensible, calculated manager, and I have, and a lot of fans have given him stick for not taking the handbrake off. But I think Arteta will take the handbrake off in certain games. For example, West Ham at home. Arteta probably knows that he can get away with playing 3 really, because Rice is quite attacking, but he can do that sitting role. But definitely 2 attacking-minded players in that midfield, and only having one of either Rice or Zubimendi sit behind them. But in certain games, i.e. Newcastle away, Liverpool away, Man City at home, you need to have a really solid midfield that's not going to give a lot of chances away and give us the best chance of winning. And I think that's what he went with. He went safe in the first few games and he got a lot of stick for it. But when you look at it retrospectively, you can see why he made that decision. Could he have played slightly more attacking? Yes. But I think he's probably realised that now, and it was really promising to see Ødegaard, Eze and Rice in the same midfield. Such a shame for Ødegaard to go off injured and get that knee injury. He is a bit fragile, I think he needs a rest. I think we're trying to rush him back too quickly, although he did look really good in the Champions League, and to start that game, he did look really hungry. So I think it's just a case of him being unlucky. But he does look a lot skinnier. He's lost a bit of weight, maybe due to injury. I'm not too sure. Maybe that's part of that, and not working out consistently, etc. But I really do hope that this injury recovers pretty quickly and he can start getting back into the team and playing himself into form, because I think he could be a real difference maker this season. He looked exceptional when he came in as of late. But Zubimendi just came in, and that's what I mean about Arsenal squad depth. Zubimendi, Ødegaard goes off a few seasons ago, even last season, you'd be like, this is a fucking nightmare. You don't even bat an eyelid now that Ødegaard's injured. It's a shame, but Zubimendi comes straight in. And even if it's not Zubimendi, you've got Marino, you've got Nwaneri. We've got so many options. And yeah, this is why I think that Arsenal will win the league this season. I know it's early, but the squad depth is literally insane. And they remind me of like Man City back in the day when they had the best squad in the league by a mile. And it felt like even their second team could, challenge for the Premier League. And I honestly feel the same about Arsenal. Like, I think over the course, of the season, it's a long season, and I think having those options off the bench is going to make a massive, massive difference. And also with injuries too, I think it just is. We don't really look too different without Ødegaard when Zubimendi comes in, etc. And that can be said defensively too. When Saliba gets injured and Mosquera comes in, nothing really changes, to be honest, because we're so drilled. Everyone knows what they're doing. There's that consistency there. And I think with Liverpool, they don't really have any consistency. And ultimately, consistency and keep picking up those points, that is what's going to win you a Premier League. Not last-minute goals, and as we've seen, it's just not going to happen. So yeah, very, very promising. Saka back on the score sheet as well, taking that penalty in his 200th appearance for Arsenal, 300 goal involvements, which is insane. And I just wanted to have a word about the goal scorers today. So Saka and Rice. Since Rice has joined and since Saka was probably born, I'm not sure, but it's definitely since he's been playing for Arsenal in the first team, they've been the most consistent performers for Arsenal. Never injured. I mean, Saka was injured, obviously, with his hamstring, but when it seems like he was out, then he's back. It's not like Ødegaard where you have to sort of bed him in. He's just back, bang, and he's back to doing what he does best, really. But honestly, consistently, every single game, they always produced at least a 7 out of 10. And they're borderline world class. I would argue that Saka and Rice are world class. I know they haven't won a trophy, but that's just my opinion. And yeah, I just want to shout them two out because I think they are just unbelievable players and always, always so consistent for us. And a big reason why we are where we are today, especially Saka. So yeah, moving on from Arsenal, they've got a really good chance and they're in a strong position going into the international break, which is great news for me and all the other Arsenal fans. But yeah, Chelsea. People, to be honest, were saying that Chelsea might have a chance in this game against Liverpool. I thought the same. I thought it was sort of a 50-50 with the way Liverpool have been playing. But I don't actually know how good Chelsea are. I'm not sure many people actually do, obviously, because they had those 2 red cards in 6 or 7 Premier League games, and they won the Club World Cup. They were quite good last season, and a lot of people were tipping them to challenge for the league, definitely finishing in the top 4. But it's been quite underwhelming, and I think that win against Liverpool is quite a big deal for the Chelsea players and the Chelsea squad. I don't think they're going to challenge for the league, but I think it will be a big spirit lifter. I think it will give the players confidence. It will give the manager and the players belief that they can actually do something this season. The Maresca celebration did make me laugh, and I think the reason why he went so mental was because I think he was probably slightly worried, and I think that was just because of how they performed in the red cards and stuff. And in the back of his head, he was probably thinking, "Oh, if I don't, if I don't perform well this season and make it look like to the board that we are progressing, then I could get the chop." So I think that was a massive release from Maresca. If Arteta celebrated like that 2 years into his managerial job at Arsenal, I know it's against Liverpool, but you are at home at the end of the day, he would have got absolutely destroyed by the media for running down the touchline and celebrating with his players. He did act like they'd just won the Champions League. So slightly questionable. I think the celebration was a bit over the top, to be honest. I'm not the celebration police, Jesus Christ. Like, I quite enjoyed watching it, and I think more managers and players should celebrate like that, because I love it. Like, I hate the whole nonchalant thing, like the Carlo Ancelotti, Zinedine Zidane thing, where it's like, you've just won the Champions League final, and they're just like, they don't care, they don't give a shit. It's like, you clearly inside are, bursting with joy, but you just want to maintain your nonchalant aura. Just fuck off, mate. So yeah, I quite enjoyed that celebration. But yeah, I don't really know. On Chelsea, obviously they're a quality team. They've got some quality players. But even with the makeshift defence against Liverpool, they managed to only concede 1 goal. And I know Liverpool weren't firing on all cylinders, but that is quite promising. And they've got some really good young talents. But I just think ultimately, as we've seen with the red cards and the performances, they will be a bit too inconsistent to challenge for the title. But yeah, they're looking good. They're looking okay, and maybe they can kick on from this. Who knows? We'll see next week what happens, but it'll be interesting. In other news, Haaland is an absolute machine. He had a massive dip last season. Only scored about 20 goals, but this season he's on track for about 30 again, which is absolutely mental, by the way, considering that Man City are actually shit, and he's still scored, like, literally, he scored more goals than half the Premier League teams in the league. Like, it's ridiculous. So yeah, he's going to win the Golden Boot. Hopefully he stops scoring, because if he scores that many, he might just literally carry Man City to a Premier League title just with the amount of fucking goals that he scores. But you have to give credit to him, he's big and he's ugly, but Jesus Christ, can he score goals? Oh my God. He's unbelievable. But yeah, I don't think him alone is going to be able to get City over the line unless they start really clicking into gear, because they're just not playing. Like today, again, it was only 1-0. They only scored 1 goal. So yeah, I think they need to do a bit more than they're doing currently. So yeah, I mean, by the looks of it, looks like Arsenal are going to run away with this league. Theoretically speaking, I hope that's the case, as from an Arsenal fan's perspective, but I don't think it will be as simple as that. But yeah, at the minute, it's looking good for Arsenal, really, when I've watched the performances over the weekend. Finally, a bit of a short podcast episode. It's quite hard to do a podcast on your own, because usually someone else has an opinion, like, oh, you're chatting shit. And you go, oh yeah, maybe I am chatting shit. And then you say, no, you're chatting shit. But basically, I just deliver an opinion, and I'm hoping that you guys watching go, oh, that's a really good opinion. Or you saying to yourself, or you turn it off, or you say to yourself in the car, what the fuck's this guy on about? But I don't have anyone here now to sort of say what the fuck are you on about. I can just literally say whatever I want. So that's why it's so short. But to be honest, I think all of my opinions are pretty much 100% factual. And anyone that thinks, oh, that's not, a good opinion, they've obviously got zero ball knowledge. So, yeah. But, yeah, I just want to talk about Big Ange, just because it's quite funny. We've got a lot of friends that are Forest fans. Obviously, I'm from Nottingham. And, I don't know, I think the whole thing's an absolute mess, to be honest. I mean, that game against Midgetland, or whatever they're called, it resulted in Forest fans booing the manager, but not only booing the manager, chanting themselves. It's the first time I've ever heard, after 7 games, I think it is, or 6, fans chant to the manager that he's going to be sacked in the morning. That is ridiculous. And look, I understand that a lot of Forest fans are angry at Ange, and I sort of understand why he'd be angry at him, because, the results have been really poor, and some of the performances have been poor. But at the end of the day, the bloke is probably trying his best. And I don't think you should divert your anger towards Ange. I actually think you should be diverting your anger towards the owner. And that is hard, because he's brought you so much success and he's invested so much money into the club. But he's chosen to sack one of your best ever managers, who's got you into European football, and then he hired an absolute clown. And look, people might be listening to this saying, well, Nuno, he tried to get out of himself and it wasn't the owner's fault. But I don't know. I think it's an owner's responsibility to, if the manager isn't happy, and the manager is a world-class manager, or not even world-class, but he's proven that he's the right man for the job. And I know there's other really good managers out there, but he seemed to fit like a glove, but with the fans and with the players, and you were doing so well. Like, I think it was crazy to throw that away. So I think it's an owner's responsibility ultimately to try and fix these issues and come to some sort of. Unless Nuno was like, no, I just want to leave. Like, you're a dick, and I'm sick of being here. But it seemed like there was a lot of friction between Edu and the owner and the manager, and ultimately, like, I feel like how could that not be repaired? Like, for example, you know, if Arteta or if Pep or if Slot, they hired a new sporting director or they had an argument with the owner and then they got rid of them, the uproar would be like crazy. Like, surely there's a way in which you can sort that out without sacking the manager. Like, it seems like playground stuff to me. Like, unless he's literally like shagged your wife or something, like, why do you need to sack the manager over, like, I don't know, like signings or whatever it is? But I don't know if Nuno's just a dick. I'm not really sure. I don't know the guy. I don't know if your owner's a dick. I don't know if it's a bit of both. But it seems like a huge overreaction, and one that might be like really costly to Nottingham Forest as a club, really, because they were on this upward trajectory of solidifying themselves as not just a Premier League team, but maybe a team that could consistently finish in the top 10. And now you're looking at them going, you know, they're certainly not going to get relegated this season, I don't think, but they're going to finish near the bottom if they don't sort themselves out, which is such a shame because they built a squad now that's got such quality and quite a lot of depth as well, and they did play good football. I have no idea why the owner chose Ange Postecoglou, and it's quite concerning actually, because as an owner, I sort of get it in a way. I mean, he finished, 6th or whatever it was in his first season at Spurs. He won a European trophy, but if you were, whoever made that decision to look at Ange as a manager and go, he'd be a great manager for Forest, after the back of Nuno and how Nuno played football, they're literally the complete opposite style of football. I'd understand if they had an attacking style manager and then they bring in Ange. Makes sense. But Nuno wasn't an attacking manager. He literally relied on defensive solidity and attacking on the transition. And you brought in Ange, who plays suicide ball, and it's the exact opposite of that. It's crazy. But not only that, he finished 17th with Spurs, lost so many games, conceded so many goals. So I have no idea who made that decision, and it is quite concerning. And yeah, look, they've lost again. And look, I don't think really you can. Let's be honest. Let's forget this result against Newcastle, because what I'm trying to say is, like, even if Nuno is still the manager at Forest, I think you would have struggled to get a result at Forest, like a draw at best, because as even Arsenal, who are, in my opinion, the best team in the league this year, only just got over the line against Newcastle. Like, Newcastle at St James's Park, it's one of the hardest places to go, period. So I wouldn't read too much into that, but you hardly created any chances, which is kind of worrying. You were sort of dominated, and yeah, look, at the end of the day, he's got to get a win in his next game. No matter what, you've got to win, you've got to get a result, and if not, then he could be gone already, which is mental. But hey, if he sacks him quickly and he doesn't cling on, I think you can just be like, look, he's made one mistake, and if the next manager comes in and hits the ground running, fair enough. But I'm looking at it and I'm like, who are you going to get? Who are you going to bring in? No idea. But I look forward to seeing what happens. And to be honest, I know I probably shouldn't, but I kind of want Ange to do well and turn it around, because I think it'd just be quite a funny, nice story to say that he was nearly hounded out of the club. And then he ends up turning this around and finishing above Tottenham would be one of the funniest stories this season. But unfortunately, I don't think that's going to happen for the big man. But anyway, I think we're going to wrap that up now. It's been about 30 minutes, so if you've listened to this on the toilet, then that is a very long shit. You should probably finish up now. If you've listened to this on your lunch break or whatever, or when you're chilling, thank you. Do appreciate it. I'm not going to talk about all the games on every single podcast, because some of them are just not very good, or I haven't watched them. But I hope you enjoyed the conversation today about Chelsea, Liverpool, Forest and Arsenal. Yeah, we'll see if Josh is back next week. But either way, thank you very much for listening. And yeah, we'll see you on the next episode of the Armchair podcast after another week of Premier League action. Goodbye.